great game against Michigan. You guys taking any momentum off that into the next game?
No, because it seems like it was about a month ago, doesn't it?
Yeah.
We've been in finals, and our guys have hopefully been studying about 10 hours a day, and so it feels like that is a long, long way behind us, and I hope it is. I hope we have momentum from it, but you know, after a few days, that's just the past. So we've got a whole new challenge. We've got to come out of finals, which we've not always been great at doing that. Sometimes we're better than others, but you know, new challenge, and that was great, but another one coming up.
You mentioned when you played New Hampshire that you were hoping your guys weren't looking ahead to Michigan. How do you guard against a letdown?
Same kind of thing, just talk to them and hope that that there's enough experience in our locker room that has been through things like that. You know, you learn the hard way, and when you play college basketball, usually you get knocked down a few times and you learn your lessons, and you know, we've got some older players that have kind of seen it all, and hopefully, and listening to what we're telling them, and then also relaying it, hopefully the whole group doesn't have that. But that is always your fear as a coach. The games that maybe the team is better than their name, or doesn't have the name that you know every day, but you know as a coach, and you watch them, and they run a tremendous offense and a complex offense, and they've got some really good scores, and you know that it's too late if you come to a game and you're not really mentally prepared. So hopefully those messages get across. It also speaks to the competitiveness of your group and how badly they want to have a great year.
How much does undefeated go into their mind? And I know you're probably one game at a time all the time, but how much of motivation is that for them?
Well, we haven't talked about it. We haven't even, and I don't want to. I hope they don't start talking about it and thinking about it, because I think that makes it a little bit more difficult sometimes, and you never want to start playing, you know, not to lose. You always want to play to win, and you want to play aggressive and kind of throw caution to the wind, and sometimes that can take place. I hope it is not. You know, if you're superstitious, it means your life gets pretty it's pretty dull. You're on the same path all the time, but we'll see, and we haven't talked about it. I hope they're not talking about it, but I'm not quite sure.
But they do have a pretty healthy chip on their shoulder, don't they?
Yes. Well, we're trying to keep it there. Yeah, we're trying to remind them of that and use it as motivation. And also make sure they remember we have a finite number of games left, which everyone else in the country does not. Everyone else can think they're going to play 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever games later on down the road, and we already know that. So trying to make sure that they remember that our games maybe are a little bit more valuable than everybody else's.
How's Marcus feeling?
Getting better, but I wouldn't say great. So we're gaining on it.
Does he have a status for Wednesday's game?
What's the right word? Hoping. Is that a status? Hoping.
Questionable?
Is it a range of motion?
That's probably more of an official one. Yeah, I haven't seen the hoping one.
Optimistic.
Don't see that in the paper very often.
We saw you play Sterling down low a little bit. What do you see from him that he does well down there?
Well, first of all, it's by necessity, obviously, but he's so versatile, and he's very effective in both spots, and that is a great luxury to have. And I think in high school he played inside some, as do a lot of college players. Were just tall, and they put him inside. And so I think he's comfortable in there, and he does a lot of great things. And it's always great to have a guy or more like Sterling that can play multiple positions, and particularly when you have the numbers that we have to start with, and then you go with injuries that we've had and other things. So valuable, so really appreciative of what he can give us.
The fact that you could put up the rebounding numbers that you did without your number one big guy, does that speak to what you're talking about right now in terms of having guys play different positions?
Well, I think that in rebounding, to me, what it speaks to the most, and what we try to sell to our guys, is more than anything else, rebounding is just trying hard, really. If you jump high, that's nice, and if you happen to be tall or whatever, but truth be told, anybody can go get a rebound if they want it bad enough. And you've seen guys college or the NBA that were undersized, that are incredible rebounders. So we've tried really hard to sell that as one of, if not the most important thing that's taken place. And when you look at the numbers after the game, it's really just saying, how hard did you try? It's one of the great gauges to say, how hard did you try tonight? And so we're obviously trying very, very hard, because our numbers are as good as I've seen in a long, long time. And knock on wood, they'll continue to do that regardless of who's healthy, who's not, how many guys we're playing, how big they are, how small they are. I still think if you want the ball bad enough, you can go get it.
How much of those, you're out rebounding your opponents by 14, how much of that is a reflection of the fact that you've played some teams that shoot a lot of threes, therefore your guards are able to chase down a lot of longer rebounds?
That's a good question. I hadn't really thought of it that way. We have played kind of really a diverse schedule of styles, but you're probably right. We have played some that shoot a lot of threes, but you know what? The country's shooting a lot of threes. So I don't know. I really don't know the answer to that. You make me think a little bit, but I hope we're just a really good rebounding team, no matter what kind of shots the other team is taking.
Some of the teams that have come to Moody to play you guys have gotten off to a really hot start.
We're good at that. We are very, very accommodating. We're very accommodating.
Against Michigan, your defense kind of stepped up. Is there something you were doing differently, or anything you saw?
Just tried to point out what you just pointed out, that we have really we've not set a tone early in the game defensively. And I always think that's very important psychologically when a team comes into your building. Everybody's human, and after the first 3 or 4 minutes, you get a sense these guys are really good, or hey, we could whip these guys. You get that sense, and whether it's false or not, you get that feeling. And the longer you let somebody hang around, obviously the more their confidence is going to grow. So we really talked about it a lot, that we did not need that to happen with Michigan. I thought we came out, right out of the gate about as well as we had. Maybe all year, I'm not sure. We played a great half. We played some great halves or great stretches, but maybe didn't start the game and maybe a 40 minutes or close to at that same level. And I hope we learn from that. And I hope we can keep playing defense like we did the other night.
So in your mind, what is the kind of the biggest reason you think for some of those slower starts and not being able to set standard or set defense?
Some of the other teams just shot it great too. Sometimes I act like our defense wasn't good, and then you go, I might say that after the game we didn't. Then I watched the film and it's like, my gosh, they're shooting 22-foot contested threes. They're going in, so that's not bad defense. So sometimes we were doing better. The other team was excited, and spin it around. You're the other team, and you're coming to play a team that's ranked in the top 25 on their floor. These guys are ultra ready. This is the biggest moment for some of them, and so they are completely locked in. I've said this before. Sometimes the team we see in the first 5 minutes here is not the team we've seen in 4 games on film. They look different. They're at a different level, and I think, to me, it's more about that than it is what our guys haven't done. But we still have to combat that and understand, well, that's the kind of effort we're going to get. We're going to get it again Wednesday. They're playing a ranked opponent on not their floor, and so those guys are going to be locked in, and we have to be able to meet that challenge.
Thanks, Coach.